right, kids, it's that time again. Gather round for another scintillating presentation of an episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode number 202, the 1st of February. My name's Chris Salona. I'm here with Ethan Shalloway. Ethan Shalloway, how are we doing?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I am doing well. I'm doing well. Yep, everything is good. It was a tiring week in the good way. You know, we get to be thankful for a time of rest on this Saturday and Sunday, and we'll be doing exactly that. We just got some podcasts to record. Very excited. Yeah, it's all good. I'm doing well. How are you, man?
I'm good. Yeah, same thing. This was a pretty big week. Just felt really busy. Rest was hard to come by, but worked hard. Got a lot of good work done at work. Got a lot of good family stuff done. Lifted well, trained well. Nutrition, all that shit was more or less in line, which is good. And yeah, we're sitting here on a Saturday morning, midday, having some coffee, casting pods. I mean, that's really all there is to it.
That's right. Couldn't be happier to be here, Chris. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, man, this is what it's all about.
This is episode 202. Comes out on February 3rd. February is here. January kind of went long, kind of went fast.
Well, that's the thing. I wanted to ask you about that because it seems that every single person I've had this conversation with, or every person that's brought it up to me, was just like the last week of January. They were like, "Oh my God, it feels like it was 3 months long. Like I can't believe it's still January." I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like it went by pretty quickly. What was your gauge of the month it was?
I think it went by pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think that has to do with I did like a week and a half, 2 weeks in Pennsylvania, and I drove back.
Sure.
So kind of just the splitting up of travel, and you're in one place for a long time. I think it maybe drags it out, but it felt like it went a little quick. And that's fine. That's fine for me, I guess.
Yeah.
We made it through the 10 darkest weeks of the year. We are now on the other side, which is kind of cool. Even though I appreciated it. I appreciated it this year more than ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, you can't do anything about it. So you just kind of hunker down and enjoy different parts of it. Like I always enjoy, I feel less self-imposed pressure during the winter time to like be active and be social, like on weeknights and stuff. Like I've kind of enjoyed like being in the routine of like taking care of my sleep and getting 8 hours. But I agree, man. I mean, like it's February, like today, the day we're recording is the 1st of February. This is the first day up here that the sun is setting after 5 p.m. So that's at 5:01 today. So, I mean, if you think about it, like winter's pretty much already gone. Like you've got, at least up here, like you got one more month of winter, but then March, I mean, you start getting peppered with like 60-degree days here and there, and you know, it gives you a lot to smile about. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, like the work's almost done. Like I'm about ready to get in victory formation and just run out the clock.
Yeah. The today is supposed to be like high of 60 or 70. And
nice, dude.
2 days ago it was similar. So
yeah, we're
a little ahead. Obviously in Alabama it's warmer, and you can hear the birds more, and it's brightening up. So it's good. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. I'm sure we're going to have a bit more spots of snow here and there. I think next weekend we're actually supposed to get like a snowstorm, but I'm okay with it, man. I mean, it's part of life.
Sure.
It's seasons, and you got to enjoy the snow to enjoy the sun. So yeah, I'm sure Aristotle or somebody said that. Maybe Socrates.
Yeah. Mozart.
yeah, Wolfgang Mozart, whose birthday we celebrated last week.
So this week's episode, we sent out to the people for some hot takes and about grunge, and it's kind of our
sizzling takes.
Yeah, it's our reaction pod, or kind of a Q&A, kind of just talking about what the people want to talk about. We've been doing that a little bit more, trying to. You guys are helping us out with a lot of the topics. Nirvana had a reunion of sorts this past Thursday in LA for the benefit of the LA fires. Fire Aid 2025. So we'll talk about that a little bit because they don't get together and play all that much. And we also have This Day in Music that we are, of course, going to hammer at the beginning right after we thank the patrons, because what would an episode be without thinking about the random shit that happened in history for music, right, Chris?
Yeah, I have to say, low-key, we've been doing this for like a year and a half or so, This Day in Music, maybe longer. And like very, very sneakily, it's become one of my favorite parts of the podcast. Like I just love being able to talk about the stupid shit because there's always something in there that aggravates us. There's always something in there that makes us think of something else. And it's fun. I mean, and it forces us to, spend more time outside of the grunge rock genre, which is good. We need some variety in our day-to-day lives. Yeah, exactly. So little of this, little of that. And I think it sets the tone for a good episode, and it gets everything going a little bit. It greases the wheels. It lights the fire, all that type of stuff. So
exactly, it's like pregame warm up. It's like you shoot around or walk through. Like
yeah, man, it's just getting some shots up before before the fans even come in. Really, you're
making
just
sure we're dialed in.
Stuff. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and that sets the tone. I mean, like you're not going to have a good performance if you don't get those shots up in the gym beforehand. So we're happy to do that. And we just want to thank everybody that chooses to support this podcast 202 weeks into this project here. Anybody that's purchased merch, anybody that's left a review, all that shit, anyone that's given us our money on Patreon. And I would like to thank the top tier Patreon supporters, because they're really pulling all the weight here, as we say. And we are in need of some new members. I mean, the cost of a lot of stuff is going up, and we're coming up on the 4-year anniversary of the pod, and every year anniversary is when all of our costs come due. So if you're looking to help out with that, you know what to do. You can join the Patreon at $2, $5, or $10 a month. And that goes towards the production costs of this podcast and paying our producer. But before I thank the top tier Patreon supporters, I would like to shout out Erica Ashu. Erica has made the leap from the $2 tier to the $5 tier, so we love that. This call to action is not just for people that aren't members of the Patreon. It's for people that are members of the Patreon but want to step up a little bit. So that's what we love to see. I love getting those notifications. So thank you so much, Erica. You're the best. And perhaps the day will come that you might leap into the top tier, so I can say your name every week, just like I say the names of A Bit Dusty, Black Hole Sean, D-Boat, Doug Endy, Eddie Vedder Got Me Through My Second Divorce, Apona, Gochu John, Jade Mercado, Jamie Lynn, Carlene Salona, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, The Michael Dooley Project, Millie, Nikki Six, Russell, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Sherry Matthews, Abraham is the cutest basset hound ever, and What the Fuck is Up, Denny's.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
Good.
I got one more thing as it relates to just gratitude and everything. There's a bit of news here. I don't often pay attention to this. I check in on it maybe like once every 4 or 5 weeks, seeing what the reviews are and what the stats are. And on Spotify right now, we've got, I don't have it pulled up actually. We have 271 ratings, and we have a 4.9 rating, which is great. But over on Apple Podcasts, we have a 4.8 out of 5 stars, but we're sitting at 99 ratings. So somebody out there got to log into your podcast app and give us that 100th rating.
Ooh,
and
like
extra special, if you want to leave a written review, that would be great.
Leave a written review and say that you were the 100th person reviewing the pod, rating it.
Because no one can take that away from you.
Yeah, and we will gladly, look forward to reading whatever you guys say. So you can rate it bad, we'll read it. Rate it good, we'll read that too. But let us know, because we want to keep track of who that 100th person is. So get on there. And if we have multiple people claiming they're the 100th, that's fine too.
Could have some controversy. Exactly. We might have to go to a runoff election and see who the real 100th is.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Awesome.
This day in music, should we get to it?
Oh yeah, this day in music, February 3rd. So we're going back to 1959. Big day, sad day, the day that the music died. So tragedy struck when Buddy Holly at age 22, and the big bopper, age 28,
and Richie Valens too. I think they all died.
Yeah, and he was 17 years old, lost their lives in a plane crash on the way to the next date of the Winter Party Dance. After experiencing heating problems on the tour bus, Holly hired a private plane to take 3 men to Clear Lake, Iowa, at Moorhead, Minnesota. The event, which also took the life of their pilot, Roger Patterson, later became known as the day the music died, after Don McLean's reference in the tragedy in his 1971 song American Pie. And man, age 22, Buddy Holly, you hear him, you think about the Weezer song maybe, think about, there's history behind it, but I'm not going to lie, I did not know that he was 22, and, Richie was 17. These guys were young. Talk about that a lot. It's crazy the impact they had and what a household name they were at age 22. that it really is quite, special. And, the American Pie, when I heard that, because that's what I thought, the day the music died, that's exactly where I go to when I hear that phrase. And I had no idea that, I was like, all right, I knew it's an old song, but it came out in 71. So it's 54 years old or about to be the song. And that means that he was, a young boy when Buddy Holly was playing, and like it blew my mind that it's 54 years old and that song was, just a great song to sing to, still is. What a beautiful song. And I guess to, commemorate the day the music died.
Yeah, man. And the plane crash happened just outside of Clear Lake, Iowa, because the group, they played a show at the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake. And a lot of my buddies from when I went to college at Iowa State were from Clear Lake. And I've been to the Surf, and they've got a nice memorial there, all throughout the venue to the individuals that died. In fact, they kind of like cornered off the phone booth that Buddy Holly made his last phone call in. And it's like behind glass, and like they just kept it that way. And in the back room for the artists, everybody signs it. And Don McLean went there once and wrote the lyrics to American Pie on the wall. I remember seeing that. And the crash site, there's a memorial there as well. A bit of like tough, not lore. That's not the correct word. That's a little too whimsical for this, but a very young Waylon Jennings was playing bass in Buddy Holly's band at the time. And as the story goes, there was a finite amount of space on the aircraft to fly to their next location, and everybody who wasn't going to be on the aircraft was going to be taking a bus. And like there was kind of like good-natured jockeying for like who was going to be on the plane and who's going to be on the bus, and everybody wanted to be on the plane because it's quicker, and the bus was a pain in the ass. And as the story goes, Buddy Holly and Waylon Jennings were kind of like jarring at one another, like good-naturedly, before they traveled away from the Surf Ballroom. And Buddy Holly evidently was just like jabbing at Waylon, and he said, "Well, I hope your old bus freezes up." And Waylon says, "Well, I hope your old plane crashes." And sure enough, obviously it did, and that tore up Waylon for a very, very long time. But I just like, I can't imagine like the amount of guilt that you would feel. And obviously like that had nothing to do with the outcome. But like, just like what that would do to somebody's mind when like one of the last things you said to somebody was like unknowingly predicting an early demise. That's really, really, really tough, sobering stuff.
Yeah. That's an incredible, point of history right there. And yeah, it sucks. That is, I mean, it's kind of similar to like how Leonard Skinner, they had people that also took a bus, and it was unexpected. It was the last time they were taking the plane.
Stevie Ray Vaughan too. Clapton was allegedly going to be on that helicopter that crashed too, but he didn't end up being on it. It's like, it's so weird, like so many times throughout life, like you make snap decisions that you never realize the significance of until something actually happens. There's like good stuff where it's like, oh, I took a chance and something really worked out, and then there's like, oh, like, I overslept and like I didn't get on that plane, or like there were people that were supposed to go to the World Trade Center on September 11th, and like there's this voicemail online of somebody who like worked in the WTC, and he overslept because he was watching the New York Giants Monday night game the previous night, and he was up super late and he overslept. And there's like a recorded phone call of him like calling his mom, and he's like, "I was supposed to be there. Like I overslept because I watched the Giants game." He's like, "Or else I would have been dead." So it's just like things that you don't even think give a second thought to end up like, changing your life or giving you a different perspective or ending your life. Unfortunately, it's really scary, man.
One of the only good things the New York Giants ever did for somebody.
Yeah, exactly. I think
life.
Yeah, they were in Denver that Monday night game. I don't even know if they won or lost, but really, really crazy stuff, man. So shout out to the Giants for sparing that individual.
It is. It's also crazy with like, obviously when things happen, it's very clear that, your decision saved your life. But there's a lot of things that obviously like, if you don't get on the highway at a certain time, like when you pull up on crashes that just happen, and you like fumbling for your keys or shoes, just like in 15 minutes, or there's stuff that you just have no idea.
Like sitting in your driveway to put on the correct song that you wanted to listen to ends up impacting you in ways that you'd never know.
It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah, man.
Everything has, and it definitely goes unnoticed. The stuff that obviously nothing happens. So you can't. It's hard to be thankful for that without knowing what happened.
100%, dude. I agree. So let's move forward here. We'll kick it up a few decades to 1973. And on this day in 73, Elton John scores his first #1 hit in the United States with the venerable track Crocodile Rock, which was written in France, and it was inspired by another hit single called Eagle Rock by the Australian band Daddy Co. Big Elton John guy, obviously, here. Crocodile Rock is just absolute fire. So a very, we followed up a somber note on this day with an absolutely incredible one. Long live Elton John, man. That guy,
Sir Elton John,
Sir Elton Hercules John.
he's staying in the news, as we like to say.
Yeah, man. It's funny, like with this day in music, like we'll go through by complete happenstance. There's like three or 4 week stretches where just somebody's always a part of it, and Elton John is making another appearance here. So that's pretty heat. I love that.
Mm-hmm. All right, now moving to 1992, to our era. Our genre,
grunge rock.
We don't always. I had to put it. Like we finally have grunge news to talk about, and because it seems like you would think that 52 days out of the year, like stuff would come up, but it's not always the case. It really only happens. It only syncs up a few times. But on February 3rd, 1992, Pearl Jam made their live UK debut with a 13-song set list at London's. Was that
Esplanade Club?
Esplanade Club. The show, in support of their debut album 10, also kicked off their first European tour and includes stops in Norway, Sweden, Holland, France, Spain, and Italy. And pretty big news when a band finally makes it across the pond, either way, either direction, becoming international, and first European tour. I mean, as an athlete, one of my biggest things competing was like, I want to be an international athlete. I want to go compete in Europe, compete somewhere else. So that is a really big deal. And, right after their, debut album 10, pretty early in their career, getting over there, establishing a fan base quite early in their career, that is critical for the success that they've had, the longstanding success they've had for, over 40 years or whatever.
Yeah, man. That was a great tour. There's a lot of
30.
I think the seminal performance of Release came on one of their dates in Holland on that tour, and it's very widely available on YouTube, and it's just absolutely incredible. There's a lot of good video from that first European tour that they did. So commemorating the grunge rock legends Pearl Jam, just pretty incredible here. Let's kick it forward a little bit. We're gonna move up to this day in 2014. This is in my wheelhouse right here. On this day, Bruce Springsteen was at #1 on the US chart with his 18th studio album called High Hopes. It was his 11th #1 album in the United States, which tied him for third most all-time #1 albums behind the Beatles and Jay-Z. This album, it was full of collections of cover songs, re-recorded songs, and just different things that were, put together. So, for example, I think that was the studio release of, they have a song called American Skin 41 Shots, which they did a live version of, like, I think in 99 or 2000. But Clarence Clemens, the saxophone player, passed away in 2009, but they used his part on it. So I think it was his last appearance on a Springsteen album. Yeah, man, Bruce is a legend. This album is fantastic because it has what is, in my opinion, the worst Bruce Springsteen song of all time. It's a little number called Harry's Place. And if you could just indulge me, can I read one of the verses?
Sure.
Okay. When Harry speaks, it's Harry's streets. In Harry's house, it's Harry's rules. You don't want to be around, brother, when Harry schools. It's Harry's car, Harry's wife. Harry's dogs run Harry's town. Your blood and money spit shines Harry's crown. You don't fuck with Harry's money. You don't fuck with Harry's girls. These are the rules. This is the world. When you bring it on down to Harry's Place, it's a terrible song, and I love Bruce. Like that man is God, and that song is terrible.
Harry's Place, yeah. I don't.
Dude, you just bring it on down to Harry's Place.
I wonder, his buddy Harry's probably, thank you so much. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah. It's like, this is it.
Oh gosh. That's ridiculous. Yeah, they Bruce, man, so much music. I was like,
yeah, man.
Looking at all the stuff he's done, it's just crazy. And I think, yeah, like when your 18th studio album is the number one, like just what a run to be at your best late in your career like that.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive.
Okay, last one on the list. We'll go to 2021. Taylor Swift being sued by a U.S. theme park called Evermore, which said that the star's latest album had infringed trademark by using the same name. The theme park's owner said Swift's Evermore release had caused confusion about whether the two were linked, saying that there was a dramatic departure from typical levels of traffic on their website after the album was released. And this is
bullshit.
Just, yeah, this is so funny. Like, I mean, if I'm an amusement park owner and I have the gonads to go after Taylor Swift, naming her album after my amusement park, I mean, dude, like, give it a break, dude. No, like, that's not why people aren't visiting your website.
But not only
like,
that, wouldn't that be a good thing if you get more traffic? Like, I don't understand. Like, copyright infringement. Do you think for a second, like, anybody that worked at this park was like, hey, Taylor Swift definitely knew of our amusement park and decided to call her album after it? Like, she's infringing upon our sacred right to be the only thing in the world called Evermore.
There's two things you could have did in that time. One, go after her. Two, invite her to Evermore to do a collab or like have a concert, do something like, hey, let's get her.
Yeah, you build some goodwill on social media. Like, she wouldn't go anyways, but it'd be fun, whimsical, and it would get everybody to know about your park.
Yeah, and you could be like, hey, like, or Taylor, hey, you don't need to come, but can we use your name and likeness? Maybe we can like spin it a little bit, do something. Like, there's a lot to gain there, and they took the easier / harder road of being like, we're gonna fight you. And it's crazy. I mean, people are really, I mean, there's definitely protection against names. Like, I just heard the Utah Hockey Club they're trying to get a new name for their mascot.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it was leading, but Yeti was one of the choices. But
yeah, it got knocked out, right?
Yeah, Yeti Cooler. They said it was their trademark, and they're not going to allow it. And then another sports relevant news: the three-peat. So the Kansas City Chiefs, as we know, best team out there right now, is going for a three-peat. And back in the day, there's only been like, 10 different instances or something like that where a three-peat has happened. And Pat Riley, back in the day, he coined the term three-peat and owns like 11 different domains. So anytime that the three-peat is brought up or used, if you want to use merchandise or all this stuff, he gets 25% of that.
That's a tycoon right there. That's a captain of industry.
It's like an absolute baller move. So he's about to cash in on what if they do win, or I don't know how it works. I mean, if they were to lose, but it wouldn't be as big. But it's just crazy because three-peats don't happen. So when they do, of course, it's just one of those things that sonically is it's like alliteration. A three-peat, it just sounds good. So people are going to want to use that.
Yeah,
he's got it. He owns the rights.
He's got it. I don't think the person I'm about to mention trademarked this term, but do you know who coined the term walk-off in baseball?
No.
Dennis Eckersley, the pitcher who pitched for like 20-something years, most notably with the Athletics and the Red Sox. So he was pitching against the Dodgers in the World Series, and you've probably seen like Kirk Gibson's pinch hit home run like off of one leg in game one of like the 88 or 89 World Series or something. And Eckersley was on the mound and gave up that home run, and like afterwards, like in the aftermath of that, he like it was the first utterance of the word walk-off. He's like, I gave up a walk-off Johnson. That's what happens sometimes. So, yeah, the Ekman,
It
I
truly
love that
was
guy.
a walk-off, too. That's amazing.
Yeah, man, that's pretty incredible
That's
stuff.
the type of lore that you dream to to have right there.
Yeah, like men will move mountains to be mentioned in the same breath as lore like that. Like, that is unfathomable lore.
It is. It's such a good term that's been used forever, and like a good story to like a really fitting way for it to come about.
Oh yeah, big time. So that's This Day in Music for February 3rd here, and there is a little bit of topical information. Ethan, I think you alluded to a little bit earlier. the fire aid benefit, and we got a surprise there in our little genre neck of the woods as the surviving members of Nirvana reunited on stage to play a few songs. So we had Dave Grohl, Chris Novoselic, and Pat Smear, because Pat Smear was in fucking Nirvana. Everybody, people forget, but they took the stage at Fire Aid in L.A. to raise some money for the victims and the recovery of all of the wildfires, which happened in January, and dude, it's not all the time that you get to see these guys together in public playing. So it's always special when they're able to do something like this.
But at the same time, Pat Smear plays with Foo Fighters.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They do play together a lot. And
Not
then you
Chris,
just had
though.
Chris. Yeah, Chris. But like, I mean, everybody loves Chris, right? He's the reason the band was so good. But like,
Dude, everybody loves to talk about how much they love Chris, but they never actually say why.
no, because no one can answer the question. So it's one of those things where, and maybe we'll get into a little more. It is great. The thing is, they never play this Nirvana songs, but in Nirvana the reason people love it is because Dave Grohl's behind the drums. But without Kurt, it's a reunion, and they did a great job, right, with bringing in. They had St. Vincent for the first song. So they played Breed, School, Territorial Pissings, and All Apology. And this is like classic that they would play School and Territorial Pissings. And then Breed. I mean, like just some like heavy Nirvana, like not the stuff that, not like Smells Like Teen Spirit. They could have played a few more.
I'm glad Territorial
hits
Pissings was in there. You need that one.
Yeah. So St. Vincent sang for the first song, Breed, and then Kim Gordon came up for School. Territorial Pissings had Joan Jett, and then Violet Grohl came out at the end.
Noted grunge Bible follower Violet Grohl.
That's right. And she played the last song with Kim Gordon on bass. So really great, all female leads, and it was really fun. I watched a little bit of it, totally unexpected, but like I said, I think everybody's just excited to see Dave Grohl on drums, and because I mean Pat and Chris, I mean, yeah, they're great, but probably not. I don't know. It's a reunion
Careful
that's
there.
not like
Maybe they're listening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the biggest Pat Smear lovers that can come.
Dude, he's
come
in the
about.
Germs, man.
Yeah, dude, people forget that he was in the Germs.
Pat Smear was in the Germs.
I don't know if you could have picked 4 songs from Nirvana to see, right? See them without Kurt.
Yeah, I'm good with these, man. Honestly, Territorial Pissings, you need that, and I love All Apologies. I think that's the perfect closer for like their little set there, and even cooler that Violet was able to sing on that. I mean, I'm sure like growing up, I mean, she was obviously born well after Nirvana's heyday, but I'm sure very well aware of the lore and everything, and what a cool opportunity for that, and definitely cool for Dave too. I mean, shit. I mean, you get to play with your daughter, and she's got a great voice, so. I'm totally good with this set. Like, I don't know. I mean, like Nirvana, whenever they pop up, you take what you get from them. And, I think you're just appreciative of it because it's obviously not an everyday thing, nor should it be.
Yeah. I think over the years, they really hadn't got together, all that much. I think, after
publicly,
Kurt passed, the first time that they got together was a benefit concert for Hurricane Sandy, which was on December 12th, 2012. So 12/12/12. And they actually wrote a new song with Sir Paul McCartney. Sorry. And they had a song called Cut Me Some Slack, which then they came back and played Saturday Night Live later that December. And a few different occasions, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Concrete and Gold Tour, a few different random stuff. But it doesn't happen all that much. So it is cool, and it's very good to it's good to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, man, it's great stuff. So glad they were able to get together and do it for a good cause, obviously, and hopefully that money goes to the individuals that need it most, because crazy stuff out there, man. January, a lot of shit happened, obviously, a lot of sad stuff, and I'm glad the music community was able to come together and put something like this on, and it's cool to see everybody kind of rally together and make themselves available for something like this. So good stuff.
Yeah, and kind of more on the performance list. So there's two different locations. They play at the Intuit Dome and the Kia Forum, and they kind of split them up by genres. On the one side, you have like John Fogerty, Joni Mitchell, No Doubt, Pink, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Stevie Nicks, Black Crowes, Dave Matthews, John Mayer, Alanis Morissette. And the other side was like Jelly Roll, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Lil Baby, Olivia Rodrigo, Stevie Wonder, Sting, Billie Eilish. Chris, which concert, if you had to choose, would you go to? Would you go to the one in the Intuit Dome, which is a little bit more poppy, or would you go to the Kia Forum where,
oh man,
John Fogerty was?
I think I gotta go to the Kia Forum, man. I mean, Fogerty was there. I mean, some say he's got the best rock voice ever. So I think I would go there. Although the Intuit Dome did feature Olivia Rodrigo and Hot Rod Stewart over there. So pretty great stuff.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Cafaro would definitely want to go to that. So
absolutely. No, Cafaro, he'd be like, fuck all this shit. He's like, they sound terrible now.
Just give the money. Don't even do a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. He would. Yeah, I would love to hear him talk about the Nirvana reunion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this segues pretty well into a lot of the hot takes that we have because so on the on the Instagram page we set out and asked for everybody's hot takes out there related to grunge or just music in general. And there's one right off the bat here, and it said the Nirvana reunion sucked ass.
Mm-hmm. One of our loyal followers.
Absolutely. I did assure everybody that they would remain anonymous when we when we discussed these, so they were really able to kind of rip and let loose here. But I suppose that's a hot take in the sense that, and I'm guilty of this too. Like, whenever something like this happens, I tend to take the lane of like, I don't care what it sounds like. I don't care how long or how little they played. Like, I'm just grateful for it. Like, I struggle to evaluate the merits of something like this when like I'm just grateful that it exists. So, I don't know if I disagree with this or not. It's hard for me to evaluate it from an unbiased point of view, I suppose.
Sure, it's one of those occasions where it's really hard to say that it was bad, because that's why it's a hot take. It's hard to say it was bad because it doesn't happen much. It is special, the occasion that it arose. So you're gonna get a lot of love for it, and yeah, it's a hot take. I need to watch it fully through. I mean, I definitely didn't pay too close attention when it came up, because I was doing some other things. So I don't have the best take on it, other than kind of what I said earlier. It's not like Dave and Pat aren't playing most of the time, and
right.
It's just a matter of playing the certain Nirvana songs. So it just depends if those are the songs that you wanted to hear them play.
Yeah. Exactly. So
I'll have to check it out a little bit more, but
definitely
a hot take that I'm sure a lot of people are. Anytime a tribute shows come up, you're gonna have these.
Yeah, that it's contrived or it's not, but then again, I don't know. I mean, there's people that'll like it and people that won't. One very frequent hot take that we got, there were a lot of people that chimed in saying that, Nirvana's not good, Kurt sucked, and there were quite a few that said, Nirvana is only famous because Kurt died so young, and that elevated the acclaim that Nirvana has continued to sustain over the last 30-something years since Kurt's death. And I think that's a relatively hot take, and honestly, man, like, I kind of agree with it. I definitely. Say,
are you speaking third person right now?
Yeah, I was clandestinely
the people,
created.
They just keep saying that.
Yeah, I created 7 different Instagram accounts to send in. Yeah, you found me out. But no, I don't know. Like, Nirvana, I think they were so influential and significant because of, I think, the attitude that they took towards their music, and to me, that is more significant than the music itself. And I think it's completely true that their legacy has been heightened and their staying power has persisted more so because of Kurt's death at age 27 in 1994, relative to had he not passed away and maybe had they just kind of kept on moving. And even if they broke up, if he were still alive, I mean, death tends to do that, especially untimely death. I mean, we were just talking about Buddy Holly, for example, and like, I don't know who's to say what he would have gone on to do, but there's a lot of times where, like, if somebody's taken too soon or passes too soon, in a weird way that heightens their legacy, it increases their album sales. I mean, how many times when somebody dies, like, all of their records re-chart. So I would agree with that that tends to, I think, impact their legacy in a weirdly positive way.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad to say either, right? Like, I mean, because someone died, it made them more popular. I mean, those are the facts. That's just how it works. I mean, I love Mac Miller. I did before, I listened to him
kind of
early
same thing going on there.
But it's similar. I mean, you can't say that people didn't fall in love with him even more in the last 5 years after he passed.
Yeah. I will say one thing that happens.
You have to be honest with the situation. I mean, it is true. And because people were not supporting, I mean, people really liked him a lot. But when he was younger, I mean, it's not like, he was really good, but he wasn't the best rapper at the time. And people, there's revisionist history of saying that when someone passes. Yeah.
Well, I will say that the one thing that 10 out of 10 times happens whenever there's an artist that dies prematurely, and there's a posthumous release, I think far more people are complimentary of that release simply because of the fact that it's a posthumous release and the artist or the band is no longer together or deceased. Like, for example, like Balloonerism, which we talked about, like I really like it, but I'm sure, maybe I'm guilty of that too, or like I have a better opinion of it just because it's posthumous and, this is like, they're not around to make anything better or make anything different. What they have is what they have. So I don't know. It's always it's a complicated discussion, I think, a lot of times. But I think you can also admit things and acknowledge things that like somebody's death has an impact on how they're viewed without it being disrespectful or without it being tasteless or anything. I think there's merit to that line of critique for sure.
Yeah. And I think that another way to look at this and to think about it is think about all the one-hit wonders out there in the world who are labeled as one-hit wonders because they only have one song. Like, I just pulled up a list and some stuff. And like,
Tal Bachman.
Marcy's Playground, Sex and Candy, right? That was right in the genre. If they would have passed away and they played it, I'm sure people would talk about them differently and not know what their career is. But now, it's tough to have like a 20-year career and really keep it up. And I don't know, there's a lot of one-hit wonders where I'm sure like we'd probably talk about them a lot differently. And there's probably a lot of people that are talked about just like with high regard because they passed away that they could have been one-hit wonders too. And we would never, how would we know?
Yeah, exactly.
Not saying Nirvana had a few albums, so it's a little bit different, but like,
who's to say? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've got a couple of hot takes here related to voices and vocal ability. And the first one says, okay, maybe not a hot take, but at his peak, Eddie Vedder was absolutely one of the best singers of his time. That man had range and power. Sure, his voice wasn't Chris Cornell level in terms of octaves, but Ed could still fucking rip. And I think this is kind of a hot take in the sense that you never really hear Eddie Vedder being discussed like to the same degree that Cornell or Lane would be, but I agree. Like, I think like Eddie's voice is, and I'm guilty of this too, his voice has been memeified so much where it's just kind of like, even flow, mumbly, like unintelligible words. But I mean, you go back and you listen to his stuff from like 92, 93, 94, even like through the end of the 90s, a lot of the stuff from like the Yield tour. I agree, man. Like his voice was unbelievably powerful, and he did have range. Like everybody just kind of associates him with, the mumbly stuff. But I agree. I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, totally. We have an episode coming out about the Unplugged series, and we're gonna do a little ranking and talking about that. And so I was watching the Unplugged from 92 or 93, and they were. Eddie's voice was just unreal. I mean, what really blew me away. It was a young Eddie, and I was just like, "Yep, he's like this is when he was just absolute killer." And his voice was so, like you said, it's been memeified or changed over the years. But that young Vedder voice was that's why they gained all the success. It was a straight shot of like Special Sauce when he joined the guys and sent the recording. Like, there's a reason why it worked from the start because he was that big.
100%. We've
not
got
a bad
another
take.
No, not a bad take. Here's another take, which I'm happy that we have the podcast as a place to discuss it, because if I even tried to allude to this concept on the page, I would just get absolutely flamed. But somebody wrote in and said, Chris Cornell's voice just wasn't amazing after he blew it out in the 2000s. And I agree. I think like there's a lot of stuff like I think after '02, after like '02, '03 when Audio Slave first got going, like some of those later Audio Slave tours and some of the stuff that he did in like 2014 with Soundgarden, like his voice was obviously not what it was, and he did definitely do some damage to it, I think, around the Audio Slave time. But I think a lot of it has to do with just him being a victim of his own material and just being a victim of how ambitious most of his vocals were. I mean, like the first Audio Slave album and a lot of the early Soundgarden stuff, like Beyond the Wheel. I don't think it's natural for like a 40-year-old to be able to do that, much less a 55-year-old to be able to do that. Yeah. So, it's a hot take because I think people are afraid to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, think about, since we like comparing everything to sports, Aaron Rodgers, right? Like when you're used to seeing Aaron Rodgers do Aaron Rodgers things, and then he has a year where he sucks. Like you get a lot of criticism because you're not the man you once used to be. But he's also turning 40, and how can you expect somebody to be doing the same things they did when they were 25 when they were 40? Mm-hmm. So when you have set the bar so high, like you said, with what he did musically and like the things that he went after, that's really hard to stay at that level for such a long time. So I agree.
Yeah, man. That's
you can get it. You can attack him for that for sure. Yeah,
facts are facts. Here's another one, which I think is a good point of discussion here. This hot take says, if you have a grunge phase in life, that's fine, but it isn't healthy to like it forever. Hot take. For that's Grunge Bible.
Take, yeah.
And once again, I'm glad we have the podcast to discuss this because I don't think we could admit this on Grunge Bible on the page because there's so many. Yeah, we did. Yeah, you're right. We have. I agree, man. Like
I don't know. I think the cat's out of the bag.
We do the Grunge Bible podcast because we have to.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's a perfect way to put it. And we were prepping for this episode and the subsequent episodes that we're going to record this weekend. And Ethan, you sent me a text. I think yesterday afternoon. You said it's so wild that grunge rock is the genre we're attached to. And yeah, I agree. I just there's like a lot of the ethos of it that I think you could take lessons from and you can apply it to later points in your life. But like that, the feeling that you get from it at like 17, I don't think it's healthy to carry that forward, just like the alienation and like the darkness and like the everybody fucked me over type stuff. Like, I think it does a really good job of giving a voice and making sense to a lot of things that maybe people have done that have hurt you, or just the things that society has done that's hurt you. But I think it is a very destructive place to remain deeper into your life. I think particularly maybe as you have a family and have children, and I think you can use lessons from it. But to stay in that ballpark and stay in that state of mind, I think would be not a positive thing. And I definitely feel like I've grown away from the full ethos of the genre, and I've taken what I need from it, and it's always there if I ever need it again. Sure. But yeah, I would never, for example, consider myself to be a grunger. I don't think anybody can in 2025. I mean, shit.
Well, I think that this goes back to why artists change over time too. I mean,
you have to.
If they're changing their genre and moving into different things, then if they're not a lifer, if it's a phase slash for them where they kind of move into different stuff, then it's not even our material and whatnot. Like, I think that says it all. I mean, it's not supposed to be for 50 years, probably.
No, it's definitely, it's not supposed to be. Like, you just can't do it. On the other end, we have a hot take. It says, hot take, grunge music is enjoyable and I like it. And I think in the modern discourse of the internet, enjoying it and liking it is kind of a hot take, because there is this like doomerism that's surrounding it. And like, I mean, posting the memes and shit, like that's what plays, that's what gets clicks. So like, you got to feed the machine. But yeah, interesting. Like, everybody always talks about like, you got to be depressed to listen to this stuff, but if you like it and it's enjoyable, then maybe that means that it's positive. I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't know. People listen to it for different reasons, I guess. There's a lot of different types of songs within the genre, which is why it's a good genre. I like this one. Hot take that Kurt would have loved Creed. especially at Touch Tunes and Applebee's together.
Dude, Kurt Cobain would have had he would have had like a table reserved at his local Applebee's. Like, you know, when you go to like the old school restaurants, it's like, oh yeah, like that's Anthony's table. Like, he's always here. He's here every weeknight. I think he would have that at his local Applebee's for sure.
I do love the thought that like, oh, Kurt would never go to an Applebee's. Like, he probably hates establishments, but then Kurt, on the other hand, would be like, no, fuck it. I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the Applebee's and like play, like the irony behind it all. And he probably would love Creed. Maybe not love it, but he would enjoy putting them on and be like, no, these guys actually can play pretty good. And, you know, probably not true, but could be, you know, and we'll never know. We'll never know.
We will never know.
Because he like going against, it's like one of those things like, just when you think they would do something, they did the complete opposite. That's probably Kurt more than anybody else in the genre. Oh
yeah, big time. Here's a good one. And this is good on multiple fronts. And this one says, calling grunge a Seattle-only scene is like calling Moby Dick a book about whale hunting. I disagree with that. I don't think, I think grunge was only Seattle. I don't, like, STP being grunge, that's not true. The Pumpkins being grunge, that's not true. It wasn't a genre. It was a scene. It was a scene from a geographical area, which was the Pacific Northwest, which was Seattle. Like, this revisionist history of including all of these bands in the grunge scene is entirely untrue. And while that is a hot take, I suppose I vehemently disagree with it. It's Seattle only. And if you weren't a Seattle band growing up in that scene at that time, like, you're just not a part of grunge, and that's fine. Like, you don't have to be a part of, like, STP, like, people shit themselves when you're like, oh, like, where's STP? Why didn't you include them? Because they're not grunge, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that they're not a part of that time and place.
You know, this is funny because when we started the page, people were telling us that, and I'm not saying that we didn't believe it, but I think we were figuring out what it was.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of conversations of including certain things. And as the page has grown, like the way that you just defended the Seattle like scene and the grunge, like, is exactly like, you know, we've become so much. That is how we've really narrowed what we think grunge is, in the sense of, like, I don't know if it's because it's more absolute and it's easier to argue with people and it's easier to have like clear lines in the sand, but I feel like we've adopted that take over the past couple of years pretty heavily, because I agree. And like, let's just leave it it is what it is. Like, it's a time and place and a very specific, and like, you know, you can want to be in the club as much as you want, but you're not getting in. Like, you had to be there.
Well, the thing is, like, all of the bands that people try to include it.
Yeah. We're being heshers.
Like, all of the bands that people try to include in grunge, like, being included in the grunge like umbrella doesn't do anything for those bands, and it doesn't make me think of those bands in a better light. Yeah, like, I don't,
genres
like,
used to mean a lot more, Chris.
Yeah, like, you don't yes, as Lederman told us, like, you don't have to be, like, that's the thing, like, you don't have to be a part of the grunge scene to have made incredible music in the early 90s that was alternative sounding. Like, it's not like, they're not mutually exclusive. Like, it's just not. It's not something that needs to be. So people always get pissed off about it. And I just... Especially
25 years later. Like,
yeah, okay, who cares?
If there's a movement happening right now in California or in Sweden or something like that, and I want to say that I'm a part of it, I got to go there. I got to move there and be a part of it. I can't be like, yeah, I'm a part of the movement, like the regional movement that's happening. Like, no, you're not there. Like, so to say like 20 years later, to like, no, it's like saying you're at a party when you like clearly were not there. Like, yeah, I was there.
Ethan,
like,
people
no,
love
you were
doing.
not.
People love doing.
People love doing. It's like, yep, I was there for this. Like, no, you weren't, dude. I was with you, and we were not anywhere close to there. It's like, you're just lying. You're just, like,
why is it so
lying.
Important to people? Like, people are so quick to get the pitchforks and torches out when we push up against that idea as it not being true, because it's not true. Like, they weren't there, and you can't retroactively like take Silverchair and make them 10 years older and place them in Seattle, Washington. Like, you just can't do that. Like, they have commonalities, but it's fine that they're not all a member of the same scene. It literally doesn't matter. So I don't know why people continue to get so upset about that.
Yeah, and like I said, a scene is, you know, place, place and time and stuff, and you know, it's different scenes in movie, like, you know, if they're different locations, they're in different locations. It's not the same.
Absolutely. Another hot take here. most Pearl Jam songs sound the same. And then the post text to this was, and I eat it up every time. I disagree with that. I think it's become a very popular thing to say that like Pearl Jam sucks, or that Pearl Jam, has just put out stuff that all sounds the same. But if you really listen, I think it's incredibly different. And we've had the experience of being able to watch them develop over 30 something years. And you can't tell me that they all sound the same. I mean, they've had their heavy stuff, they've had their experimental stuff, they've had their bad stuff, they've had their good stuff. Like there's a lot of variety in there. And I think that's a lazy take to say that Pearl Jam, everything sounds the same from them. And I think it's tied into like the kind of like ex post facto critique of Eddie's voice as just kind of being monotone. I just think it's a lazy take.
Yeah. When you have so much music, it is a little bit lazy. There's just like, there's so much to kind of pull from, and over a course of so many years that, I mean, I kind of agree. I'm trying to think of a way to explain it, but you did a pretty good job doing that. So I don't know.
Yeah, man. We're going to break things up here. We're going to break things up here with a freezing cold take, because I don't think anybody would disagree with this. Well, maybe I would disagree with part of this. And this says, Axl Rose is a great artist, but a terrible person with anger issues. Unprofessional, rude, and disrespectful. And I agree with everything at the end of it, but I vehemently disagree that he was a great artist. And we got a few that said, people chimed in and they said that GNR sucks. And like, I don't know if they misread the prompt because we were asking for hot takes. Maybe they didn't know their audience, but yeah, you'll find no disagreements there.
They don't know what a hot take is.
No, they don't know.
That's good. That's funny. Now we agree with everything except for him being good.
Yeah, man.
Let's see. So it's so funny. People just comment and just say like "man in the box." Like how that's not even a take.
Yeah, like
what
does that do for us? Here's one that's kind of the same train. Somebody wrote in and said, Soundgarden's songwriting sucked. They only got big because of Cornell's voice. And has this person ever heard of Kim Thile?
That is a hot take, because
like, have you ever heard of Kim Thile? Have you ever heard of Ben Shepherd? Like, there's this drummer named Matt Cameron, and these guys went on to create and write some of the greatest songs, and that's another ridiculously dumb take.
Yeah, that definitely has. There's nothing to support those claims, and
no, in a way, I think their songwriting is more impressive sometimes than Chris's voice. Like, because I think Chris's voice is such a known commodity. Like, that's the easiest thing to understand and acknowledge from Soundgarden. But like, the deeper level is just like how complex and innovative their songwriting was, and in a way, that's more impressive because There've been so many artists and singers with incredible voices, right? But I think they were so innovative with the way that they wrote their songs that complemented Chris's voice. So I completely disagree with that. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah. Here's just an interesting. I don't know, like I said, if it's really fits the category of hot take, but someone said, "I've never heard Smells Like Teen Spirit completely, and I don't think I will. And I own the vinyl." So. That means that you probably listened to it a little bit and was like, yeah, I get the picture. I mean, it's inescapable. But you know what? If I'm you and and I can hold that to my chest, but like, no, I'm never listening to it fully through. I'm going to the grave with that one.
Absolutely. And like, even if you slip up at some point, you just lie about it.
Yeah. That's the hill you die on. That's kind of cool. Is it true? I doubt it. I don't believe it. It's not. There's no way that's possible. But pretty cool to claim it. Well, maybe not, because it's probably a lie.
Yeah.
Hot take, you're lying.
Here's a good one that really kind of hones in on something for me. Somebody wrote in and said, the Red Sox are a World Series contender this year. Hot take. That is a hot take, because they're definitely not, because they won't spend any goddamn money. The last 4 years, all of their ownership, they get together in the wintertime and they're like, yeah, we're committed to going full throttle, and there's no amount of money in terms of payroll that's off limits, and we want to win 95 games and compete for the World Series, and then they do fuck all during the offseason to sign people. That is a hot take, because it's not going to happen. We've been hand jerked around by this ownership group for a long time, and seemingly there's no end in sight. So that's a hot take. I hope it's true. I hope they are World Series contenders, but I'm just not
All
optimistic
I can say, Chris,
about that.
Somebody has to pay.
Dude, somebody has to pay.
And I don't think that they're ready to pay.
No, they're not ready to pay. They're more concerned with their portfolio. Like they bought the Pittsburgh Penguins last year, 2 years ago, and like they're doing the same thing to the Penguins what they did to the Red Sox with like fiscal responsibility. When you're a multi-billionaire who owns sports franchises, where's the fiscal response? What does it even matter? You have more money than God. Just like spend some money on some vets that are going to hit dingers and see what happens.
Right. Give yourself a shot.
Yeah, man. You got to give yourself a shot.
All right. Here's an interesting take. We'll see how it lands. Jar of Flies is better than Nevermind. So I think that is not going to come from the majority of people in the world, but in our sphere, is it really that hot of a take? I think, I know which one of them, me and you, if we had a choice to listen to either of those albums, I know where we're going. So, but I guess it's still considered a hot take, right?
Yeah, I guess. I think Jar of Flies is a better piece of music. I mean, Nevermind obviously had a bigger cultural impact, but
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really like Nirvana that much, so
right.
Preaching to the choir there.
Probably not a hot take. There's a lot of people that don't. Significance over substance sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still people in these responses that are dying on the Dave Abruzzese hill that he was the best drummer for Pearl Jam.
Yes.
And I disagree. And they're saying, oh, he shouldn't have gotten kicked out. Like, who cares, man? Like, you weren't in the band. Like, we can't make that decision. And people just need to give it a rest. Dave Abruzzese was booted from the band 31 years ago, Ethan. And people are still upset about this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm upset about it. Matt Cameron's awesome. Love him. But Dave Abruzzese, another hot take was, he should be invited to play on tour with PJ. He shouldn't get kicked out.
They hate
I
him
love
and
that.
he hates
I love
them.
that idea. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But now that is a reunion that is more important than Nirvana's reunion to me. Hot take. I'd
roll
rather
Dave out there.
Hot take. I'd love to see Dave Abruzzese playing drums rather than Dave Grohl with Pearl Jam. I think I kind of agree. I'm a huge fan. Discrepancies aside, whatever reason that you like to think that if it was fair, not getting kicked out, I like the Dave era a lot too.
Yeah. I just had this one and I lost it. Oh, here it is. I think this is actually a hot take here. And it says William Duvall harmonizes better with Jerry Cantrell than Lane did. Not a better singer, obviously. But if you're not a better, isn't harmonizing singing? Like, I feel like this is contradictory.
Harmonizing is not just singing.
It's just like having a lesser voice than the person you're being compared to, so you can just kind of fit behind Jerry. I don't know. I haven't listened to enough Duvall stuff, to be honest.
If they go, if the different chords or different musical, if they fit better, right? And so if people are more trained, I don't know. If Lane is less trained, I'm sure that you could argue it doesn't sound as good than two people that are really. That's why there's quartets and classical. The harmonies are better.
Fair. It's always funny.
It's just what you like. If because Lane and Kurt. These guys. Their singing wasn't classical or any in the sense of the word. It's not I don't know if anything can be objectively good or correct.
Right.
I guess playing
people
the correct
that will try
notes
to say that's true.
Playing the correct notes on a guitar is objective, I guess, but there is patterns and progressions. So
yeah,
I could see where that makes sense. I'm not, we're not musically inclined to really understand.
Well, that's the thing.
Exactly.
I was just gonna say, there's times every so often on this podcast where we get into some pretty deep water
our heads.
Yeah, when it comes to breaking down the technical parts of music, because I don't know anything about any of that stuff. I don't even know the correct terminology, so I can't through my teeth lie about this stuff. I don't know how to talk about it. And it's always funny when things like this pop up and I attempt to or you attempt to, because I don't know anything about any of this stuff. So maybe that's true. I don't know. That is a hot take, though.
Especially Jerry's older, too. So his voice is a little different than it was when he's younger. So that's true. That's interesting to think about. But that's all we're going to say for that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's all we're going to say about that. Any other hot takes here? We've been rolling for 30 30, 40 minutes on these hot takes.
Hot take that, and this is contradicting something we already discussed, but it says Smashing Pumpkins are top 5 grunge band. So
there was another one that said Stone Temple Pilots are top 2. Top 2 what?
Yeah, those are hot takes, because no one in the right minds would say that Stone Temple Pilots is really top 2. But that's why it's a hot take. And it, you can definitely validate it in your own way. And we'll get into that in the Unplugged, where they kind of rank, and because we threw STP in with the big 3 performances.
Yeah. Here's a really good one. There's 2 parts to this. It says Nirvana is overrated. We've discussed this. But the second part, Hammerbox is the best grunge band. And like there's people out there on the internet that love to say stuff like this just because they like to be contrarians. Like the people out there that would say that I don't know, like Tad was the best thing to come out of the Pacific Northwest. I don't know, man. Like people, these things are attention grabbers, and they're hot takes, I think, for the sake of being hot takes.
Right. Yeah. Success is, like you said, is it objective or subjective, right? The music that comes out, like if bands are bigger at the time and all things are equal, which, maybe they're not, opportunity and whatnot, but like, some bands are just bigger and better for a reason.
Yeah. Here's another really good one. I think we could have some good discourse about this one, but this hot take is that British acts like Bush are just as important as American acts to the grunge scene.
Again, that's just really hard that's a hard argument when, it's just that's a hard thing to argue, because it's not, they weren't in Seattle.
That's like saying that like Priest Holmes is just as important to the success of the LA Lakers as LeBron James is. Like they have completely nothing to do with one another. They don't even play the same sport at the same time.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, not great take. Like Candlebox self-titled is the most underrated grunge album.
Yeah, man. Jesus. We asked for hot takes, and I guess we certainly got some of them here. Let's see. Are there any more that we want to talk? I feel like that's
a lot of these are just going to be like, this band's better than the other. This voice is better than the other.
Right.
STP is better than Nirvana, in my opinion. So it's, it's kind of, it gets old, I guess, saying the same thing. Nirvana's mid, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I like this one though. Like I said, we're going to get into this, but hot take, STP had the best MTV Unplugged performance. And that's something that we will get into in like 2 weeks, because
couple weeks time we'll roll the stone away on that.
Because that is an argument, right? That there's something, because then you're not really, it's it's putting performances up there. It's like cross-referencing sports performances and the most clutch Gene, who had the best performance in the fourth quarter. So
yeah,
you can look to things and actually set up an argument for this. Where some of these others, like if you don't come with an argument, like it needs to have something behind it. And some of these, like that has some runway. So we will get into something like that. Figure it out.
Yeah. A couple other unplugged things that maybe we'll talk about next week. Maybe we'll talk a little bit now. But somebody said that Soundgarden was robbed from not having an MTV Unplugged performance. And then somebody else said that, in my opinion, Soundgarden would not have done well with MTV Unplugged. I'm sure at some point somebody from MTV reached out to Soundgarden's camp and proffered it. So there has to have been something about that, because they were one of the biggest bands in the world at the time. And I don't know if it would have been bad. I think out of the big 4, I mean, the other 3 did it, but Soundgarden would have had the toughest time doing an Unplugged. I think just because a lot of their songs would not have been suited to like a really, really stripped down performance, but it would have been interesting to listen to. So I don't know that they were robbed necessarily. I think they probably made the decision not to.
I agree that their songs may not have played as well as the others, but Cornell had an extensive solo career. He also had music. Yeah. He also had music before that, with Temple, that probably he could have played. It depends on the song choice, because Nirvana played a lot of covers. Like, there's a performance in there in his catalog that he easily could have pulled off and been incredible. I think that that's something that would have been amazing to have, and it stinks. But you're right; they definitely were reached out at some point, and for whatever reason, they chose not to do it. So,
yeah,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Here's one more here, Ethan. I don't know if there's any others that you want to talk about, but I have one that might be a good one to close on. But are there any other hot takes that you see that you feel like discussing?
I don't know. I think this is a good hot take because you can argue, and I'll just say that Ultra Mega OK is the best grunge album ever made.
All right.
Right? That's one that you can get into. I don't know if I put it my number one. Maybe we do a ranking, Chris. I don't know if we've ever done a top albums ranking of the grunge era, huh?
Oh man, that would be the long-awaited follow-up to the top 100 grunge songs.
100 albums?
Get the spreadsheets out.
Oh, man.
Jesus Christ Almighty!
It's good prospect. So maybe we'll get into that a little bit more and see where Ultra Mega OK really does rank.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Sure.
last one from my end. I think it's a freezing cold take, except for one element of this submission here, and it says there will never be another grunge, or excuse me, there will never be a grunge revival. Frowny face. It's once in a lifetime, and yes. Unequivocally, there will never be a grunge revival, and unequivocally, it is a once in a lifetime thing. But why are you sad about that? You like it happened. Like enjoy what's there. We don't have to do it again. We can't do it again, Ethan.
Yeah, my first thought is it's like the meme when somebody passes away and someone's born on the same day. It's like the reborn.
Welcome back.
Okay, welcome back. So, yes, the grunge revival is done. It was great. Be thankful that you lived in it. There are plenty of revivals. There are plenty of moments that you may not like. This isn't grunge, but the idea, the concepts, and the actual movement is the same, just with different people, different noises, different everything.
Yeah.
And so don't be looking for the same thing. Don't be looking for the same movie just redone. That's no fun. Look for the next movie. You know, there's only one Good Will Hunting, right?
Exactly.
The only thing we can do is get the next something that makes us feel the same way.
Yeah, dude. If you keep pining away for stuff that happened in the past, you're gonna miss what's happening at that point in time. So
yeah, there's plenty of things that will fill that exact feeling. It's not going to work if you're looking for the same exact thing.
Yeah, man. Here we go. I'm gonna close with a quote from President John F. Kennedy.
Oh man.
JFK once said that change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. Maybe he was talking about grunge.
Hot take, JFK was a huge grunge fan.
Hot take, JFK is still alive.
Oh, yeah. Michael Jackson's still alive as well.
Yeah, those two are with Elvis hanging out on a beach somewhere.
Elvis, dude. So that was fun.
Yeah, some good hot takes there.
I think next time we need to do something like this, like if we really want hot takes and good reactions, Lederman, Cafaro, and honestly Drew, those three guys are gonna contribute to the hotness of all the takes.
Yeah, because more so than hot takes, we need rage bait. We need rage bait.
I would say, yeah, we need someone we can rile up, and those guys, God bless them, they do it to themselves.
Yeah.
They're content creators. So
yeah, like all we'd have to do with Cafaro is like be like, hey Chris,
talk about 10.
Yeah, be like, hey Chris, dark matter is better than 10.
Yep. And then Lederman, you could do something really similar and talk about
drums are the least important instrument in a band.
Oh man. Yeah, good stuff. So all right. That is I think that's going to bring us to a close. We got more to do today. We got more to do this week. Everybody out there, thank you so much for coming and joining this time with us. Chris, do you have a song that you want to throw out to the world before we head off for the song of the week?
I do. So for some reason lately, I've been into kind of like outlaw country music a little bit. So I shared a song with you this morning. It's not going to be my song of the week, but my song of the week is going to be "My Heroes Have Always Been Cowboys" by Waylon Jennings, former bassist for Buddy Holly's band, obviously, as we talked about at the top of the episode. But yeah, I've just been on a Waylon kick a little bit. I have a playlist of like my favorite songs of his, and I've been listening to it. But this one's just kind of like a nice, chill song talking about how his heroes have always been cowboys. So there's really nothing else to say.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, really good. Yeah, well, we have a few songs that were sent back and forth, but for my song, I'm going to go with a song that was on the Louder Than Lift playlist, something that I used to kickstart my drive that I had not listened to, and you put it on the list, and that is going to be Charles William by All Them Witches.
Yes!
This song absolutely is gas. I found myself deeper into the 1,000 Mods and the
Dude, Stoner Rock, man. Fuck
last horse and the what is it by
Fastest Horse in Town?
Fastest Horse in Town by Sturgill Simpson. Yeah, the Stoner Rock revival is there. Heaviness, and this is a great song, especially that early morning, just like get up and it's like I got shit to do. I got tasks to do. And getting out there, so
yeah,
it's been fun.
Dude, that Charles William, my buddy Tom, who has been like my Stoner Rock sensei.
Your sage.
He's been my sage. He's been my trip sitter and my guide in a lot of different ways. He introduced that song to me a couple of years ago, and a couple of years ago, I was flying down to Atlanta for one of my buddy's bachelor parties, and I got off the plane and I was like navigating the terminal and like on the little tram like to go meet up my buddies, and like I felt like I was doing that thing that the pro athletes do when they walk into the stadium and like they get all like the pictures taken of them like before a big matchup. Like I was walking through the terminal just listening to Charles William on repeat, and like I felt like such a complete badass. Yep. I was like getting ready to tie one on with the boys.
You're in a movie. You're
in a
like
movie.
Literally like going, yeah,
dude.
That's one of the best feelings. That's one of the best feelings music can give you.
Yeah, I'm glad you like that song, dude. And it has both of our approvals, so hopefully people go out and listen to that one and apply it to their lives. But Ethan, that was a good episode. I'm glad we did that. Thanks everybody for your submissions for hot takes. Hopefully we raise the temperature on those the next time we do it. But definitely appreciative of everybody's participation in this. They gave us the firepower for this episode. So I think that'll do it here for episode 202, and we'll see everybody next week.
That's right, everybody. Have a great week. Rock and roll, baby.
Stay heavy.